It's
Look at
only
Tyler.
one
Look at Tyler. He's eating on recording. What a fucking asshole. What a
We're not actually recording, are we?
Yes, I am.
Oh no!
Ooh.
Welcome.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Oh, okay.
You're
I'll
not
just
allowed.
eat Chris.
You're
You
not
do the
allowed to
intro.
talk anymore, which is a really bad idea, given that I have a sore throat and I'm probably going to lose my voice by the end of this. Well, no, we'll still do the intro. I want to lead with something, and then once I've done this, we can sort of reorient and then do things properly. Why the fuck are there no new loadout slots in season 5? No, seriously, actually, for real, why not? And I hate to start off with something that airs on the side of spiteful, but it is kind of annoying actually. It's going to damage some people. It's going to hurt some people, like you.
I know for a fact that it will negatively affect my experience, and I will probably stop playing quicker. I know for a fact that will be the case because I have a build for every overclock.
This is why
generally,
yeah, this is why I
have like 7.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even that though, because it's just like season 5 specifically. I don't think there's an update that has added more cosmetics at all. Not even any of the earlier larger drops of cosmetics, like not even like the when we first got cosmetic matrix cores, like when Overclocks first came out. This is like I swear this is the most cosmetics ever added in one go, and that includes, you know, if you include the Mark 6 armor, right? Assuming many people haven't got it from the anniversary, 2 new armor sets if you with the DLC, which is pretty substantial, and 2 new frameworks, loads of cosmetics, basically, just a shit ton. And people really need those slots, and there's I'm pretty sure well, hold on, because sometimes some things are like we overstep because we don't quite understand how much work they might entail, but I'm pretty sure we know that loadout slots are like piss easy, right? We know that, right? I'm pretty sure
they have gone on record to say they could add as many as they want.
Yeah.
It is as easy as just adding them.
So why 6? Why stop at 6? Such a stupid number.
Yeah, no.
It's just
genuinely, because there's new overclocks which I will struggle to be able to use because I already filled up all my stuff. I'm gonna have to start getting rid of old stuff. Second of all, I basically have
Tyler, you don't need super slim rounds to take up one of your slots. Trust me, you can drop it.
But I already have I have like 1 scout and maybe 2 engineers where I'm not 100% on their looks.
Well, okay. So here's something though about engineer. You're safe as far as the Warthog goes because it's only now got 6. So yeah, you see, that's the justification. No, there's no real justification, I suppose. And look, obviously, if they do this in like a patch over the next few weeks or something, obviously we'll hand them their flowers or whatever. But it's like it feels strange when you look at how much of season 5 is just them going down a list of shit and just being like, just saying yes, basically. We said this before. It feels like them just saying yes to as many things as possible. So why not the easiest thing, that everyone wants?
This actually, like, this shouldn't just be a why not say yes. This is actually genuinely, if you want players to be able to engage with the content you're adding as much as possible, being the cosmetics and the overclocks, this is actually a requirement.
I don't think you've ever. I don't think we've ever come across more as armchair developers. Are you saying that eating crisps or saying this is brilliant? It's awesome. I love it. But it's true, and it's why I just wanted to get this out of the way first because this gives it the highest chance of someone actually seeing it. And it's one of those situations where I've tried to do things before to like make a point, which is like, oh, you should really do this thing because trust me, I know that everyone's going to appreciate this. This is different, where I do feel like I literally am, for once, I am literally speaking on behalf of everyone. I feel like sometimes we thought we were and haven't been. And you could say the promotions are that kind of thing. I've done something like this before when I talked about adding infinite promotions and how it should just be something you should objectively do. Obviously, it's happening. I keep forgetting about it. And in fact, I'm probably going to shed a tear when I get to do my first promotion. But I think for once, we truly are on the 100% right side of history. in that this is something that the entire community, I think, is unified on. Even if they haven't thought about
they're
it,
actually like
right?
now.
If you ask
Like, are
anyone, I
people
mean,
saying
like,
that?
yeah, of course they are.
Like, is there a Reddit post that got trending of like a meme talking about it? Like, that's kind of the stuff that makes stuff happen, right?
Yeah, or us making new Omeran phases happen.
I mean, it is a crazy world we live in where we get new Omron phases, yet no more loadout slots. It's a crazy world.
Don't put it like that. That makes it seem stupid.
Yeah, but I think as far as we've are aware, that's probably the only complaint. Right? I mean, I have and will abstain from opinions until I've played it. Which is obviously, as a console player, and Harry's a console player, we console players will be like 2 weeks.
Get your knees out.
Which is
No,
a bit
no one
sad.
wants to see that you're wearing your pajamas. You fucking slob.
Well, is it really? I mean, it's like 50%, right? It's like I'm wearing a shirt. Like, it's just trousers at the end of the day.
I'm not.
But
I'm not wearing trousers.
see, isn't that not worse?
I'm wearing nothing below the waist. Nothing. Actually, nothing below here. It cuts off directly here. It's just skin underneath.
You got like the shirt
A crop top.
midriff.
I've got a crop top on, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. Well, yeah. I mean, welcome back to the Barrel Vision podcast. It's actually been, first of all, it's been a really long time since we've done one, actually, but it's also been a long time since we've done one normally as well, because the last one was, of course, the Axis Chronos episode, which was awesome, and it is now the most viewed podcast episode on the channel, so thank you. But yeah, it's been a while. I'm back from the exotic realm of Portugal, which I can say now.
It looks like you got your shirt from there. It's
No,
got, like,
I've had this for like
leaves.
8 years or something.
Did you get any shirts in Portugal?
I actually didn't get anything.
I think you're supposed to do that, like get people presents, right? Isn't that
I didn't get anything. I didn't take a single picture. I didn't talk to. Well, almost didn't talk to anyone actually. I just saw thousands of beautiful Portuguese women pass me by, and I just said, "Damn," and moved on. Dozens of times. That was every day, anguish. But I'm back now, and that means we're back on the horse. Although not really, because this is kind of like next week is not going to be a Deep Rock thing because there's no video for us. This kind of problem you run into when you do weekly videos, right? With a game like Deep Rock. It's so insipid and pointless to do any. There's no miscellaneous video we could come up with that would feel right to do next week when we would.
This is barely like this one alone is like it's like
it's somewhat
a couple of the things.
Yeah, it's somewhat obligatory, but I think it makes sense to at least do one more I guess piece on season 5 before we get it. The funny thing, obviously, being the fact that everyone else does have it, and not everyone else, but non-console players.
In the comments below.
Yeah, if you're a fellow console player, sucks to be you, I guess.
Yeah.
Much like it sucks to be us.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that we need to thank people for, because we have, of course. Well, first of all, I think the most recent video, the most recent miscellaneous video, the one that we did together, getting 1.9 thousand views at this point is crazy, and obviously crossing 900 subscribers is also very cool. What are you doing?
Dance. I'm celebrating. Yeah. That's how we move.
It's very cool, but there's a weird thing about 900 where it's just like, oh, we're like so close now, to the only.
What is ultimately our end goal.
Well, yeah, really. Exactly. I actually, I don't know why, I sort of went on a mini not rant, right? The opposite of a rant, not the opposite, but sort of the inverse in terms of intention. A tirade about at the end of the that patch video I did yesterday was basically just like, we're so close now, and literally 1,000 subscribers is like the only milestone that we have in mind for the channel whatsoever. Because we know that if we get any further milestones than that, any further thousands, for example, we're getting too big for our boots. But I think 1,000 is like the only milestone that we're comfortable with without increasing our level of like production. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like, you know,
I've said, I think we. I know that I would. I'd start to feel really uncomfortable if we got to like 5,000 or something. I'd be like, oh, I don't know. It's a bit much.
That, it's like realistic. It's like Deep Rock is like a pretty small bubble, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's sitting at like generally. Well, I mean, the videos that like everyone essentially in the sphere would watch, is like from Ghost Ship, which I think is like 400,000. The trailer launch is like at.
The current one.
That's like, yeah, I think so.
The current, well, the rated trailer, they always get more. 474,000. That's actually pretty good.
Which, if you ignore the fact that probably a fair amount of those are repeat views, let's say that is like the most people.
It's the same, actually. It's the same as the season 4 trailer now, basically. The season 4 narrated trailer's got 476,000. And the season 5 trailer has got 474,000. So it's gonna overtake it, you know. But that's still a very specific number.
I'm not sure why people are going back to watch those, or like would need to watch it again. But yeah, the Deep Rock Sphere, I think Access Chronos mentioned it in like a video a while ago, talking about the YouTube side of stuff. And he basically said it's not like a huge area, right? You're not gonna get like. There is a ceiling you will encounter pretty quick, and so we entered this sphere because Deep Rock was like the only thing we cared about talking about on YouTube. We were like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel. What do I feel like talking about? And then Harry and we were like, oh yeah,
it's the only video game. There might be a TV show that's starting to rear its head more than it probably should.
Which we have been starting to talk about more, which may or may not. And be ahead towards the next video.
Well, there's a couple things that we want to do. I feel like that's a weird barrier to cross. Where honestly, I don't. We're talking about Doctor Who, by the way. I don't want to become a Doctor. We don't want to become a Doctor Who channel. But honestly, I think our current rate, where the last one was like 2 months ago or so. If needs be, I wouldn't mind doing videos like that every now and then. I mean, it's not like it didn't get any views. Like for example, we probably could end up doing like a review for the new series and then future ones potentially. There's sort of one main video we want to do though that we planned on doing not at the same time, but we decided that we wanted to do it when we did the last one, and that's what's going to be next week. So if you don't like Doctor Who, you can ignore next week's video. Basically,
but if you like us, it'll just be more of us, but talking about Doctor Who. So
yeah, I mean,
and if you don't like us, then what are you doing here? Do you really like Deep Rock that much that you can put up with this? If it's just like a bit, like I'm sure there's other things.
Well, this is what makes this episode really awkward, is because I don't want to talk about anything beyond season 5, but at the same time, we haven't played season 5 either. So basically, this is going to be challenging, potentially, slightly. There are some things we could consider. Numbers, for example. I actually saw yesterday, I saw that the Reddit got up to 1.4 thousand people using it at once. And we've been experiencing, over the past few months, we've been experiencing lows on the Reddit of under 100 people on at once. So it got to over 1,000. But concurrent players is probably more important, right? Let's be honest. On Steam.
Do you have that pulled up?
No. Actually, that's not true. I do.
Wow.
So the all-time peak is 46,392. And that's from season 3. It's still that, okay? That is season 3 launch day. But we do have the current 24-hour peak, and this is the current, I believe, so the current peak from the last 30 days So this is season 5 launch date is 43,666. Which is, so that's basically just under, so it's 2.7 thousand under the other peak from season 3.
Which is a weird way of putting just under.
It's just under.
It's only 2,000 below it. But yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things.
Well, look, it's first. Okay, season 3 is the only thing it hasn't beaten, right? That's a good thing to put into perspective, I think. Everything else, even so, the biggest, obviously, prior to season 1, it's a wash. There's no, there's no examples of it being over 40,000 before season 1 anyway. Season 1 had 41,000. This is above that, obviously. Season 2, actually very little, only about 30,000. Season 2's peak. And then you get season 3 with 46,000. Season 4 only around 35,000. So it's beaten season 4 and season 1 and season 2. It's second only to season 3, which I think was
season 3 was a fluke. I think,
but this wasn't best case. Best case scenario was obviously that it washed season 3 as well. But this was still one of the ideals. This was still one of the good options. Was that it beats everything except season 3? You know.
Yeah.
Season 3.
It was just there was the hope that before it goes off on its hiatus, that it would have had a very nice farewell, which is still good, right? No one's saying that Ghost Ship are lazy and they fucked it all up and the game is dead and the content is terrible.
Oh, some people are like the lazy thing. Some people are trying to jump on.
Oh right, okay. Good to know that they're leaving for good reasons, so they can avoid fuckers like that. But no, yeah, we're it's good. The numbers are good, and the good numbers combined with because when season 3 was occurring, right, general players were still saying the game was good. The people with a bit of a closer eye on it, the higher level players were like, uh-oh. Right, like there was people say that this is going downhill, which, not to toot our own horns, but that was us. We were saying that.
You said something to me, I think yesterday, about the fact that we kind of jumped the gun, and then we probably should have saved our probably should have saved that negative energy. Obviously we couldn't, because for some reason we were feeling it around that time, but in an ideal world we would have actually saved our negative energy for season 4. But
yeah, we were negative on season 3, which most people were happy about.
Yeah.
And then moving on to season 4, we had kind of gotten over everything. We had moved through the stages of grief of the game deteriorating, so we were actually more cheery about season 4 than most other people were. Which then basically just meant that we were nicer on season 4 than we probably should have been. Really.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know. It's good to know that we don't really have any impact, because clearly the response to season 4 worked in a way, right? Obviously, it kind of, you could argue that it didn't, because the main reason season 4 was bad is because it was very much so impacted by the internal reshuffle that was the concept of roll call being developed, but also, and then you could also argue on the same side of the reason why season 5 seems so good is because it's going to be the last update for a very long time. I still think there is some crossover of season 4's response leading to a lot of what season 5 is. But at the same time, it is good to know that even if we were, we kind of misplaced certain opinions, it didn't matter. It's not like we have any effect. They still sort of pulled their pants up and made something really incredible for season 5. So I guess twas in vain, I suppose. The negativity, twas in vain. It might rear its head again in, I don't know, maybe a year from now, and we're still somehow still doing bi-weekly podcasts. It is the plan to at least be doing the podcast for as long as possible, but I don't know what it's going to be like when we get to that point. Obviously,
it's going to be roll call, right? We're going to be talking about that on the podcasts, right? I think it's definitely we don't want to talk about other things as much, right? That was the kind of idea, but roll call is definitely part of Deep Rock Galactic.
Yeah, but there's things you could do, like general speculation or hopes for roll call that we could do over the course of multiple episodes, like how we want customization to be handled, how exactly I want the gameplay to be. I feel like we can't really do any of that stuff though until we've at least had like another trailer for Rogue Core. I feel like we cannot be blundering about in the dark, and you would assume that we'd start seeing like a new, basically a re-announcement trailer is kind of what Rogue Core is probably going to need. I assume, either towards the end of the year or around when the closed alpha happens next year. It's going to be like basically a re-announcement of Rogue Core to sort of bring it forward into public consciousness.
Yeah. What they normally do for like the launch trailers, right? Like the just like a montage of cool gaming moments, like during the gameplay and stuff like that. Because obviously the previous one, it was literally just text, right? It was just an announcement.
It was like
what the game seemed to normally do.
Small like cinematic shot, basically, of the what's it called? I forgot what it's called. Their ship, the Reclaimer ship. Oh no. Of it coming into view, basically, just off the camera, just showing Hoxie's the ramrod. There it is.
You got it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Something like that. Probably, glimpses inside the caves, inside the ramrod. What the dwarves are going to looking like, the systems, stuff like that. Probably get like a montage of that. Probably just before they launch the closed alpha. Right, I'd imagine, right? Whatever that is, or maybe even after, because I don't really know how closed alphas work. Is it just people that they let in?
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Right. So probably shouldn't hype that up then.
Actually, would you even want to?
If I had a PC, I mean, that'd be the goal, right?
Well, do you know? I'm going to say something.
Talk about it.
Well, we wouldn't be. That's the thing. So honestly. That's the kind of thing about that. My dad just walked past my window and gave me a really shifty look. Because I'm on the ground floor. I'm not on the... I think it's important to point out I'm on the ground floor. He's not like, walking past my top floor window. A closed alpha thing would be weird because, technically speaking, I don't know what the parameters are for that kind of thing, but you would assume that they want a decent amount of people. And we've had communication with people from Ghost Ship, so... Okay, it's probably quite likely. I'm just speaking. As far as I know, I'm speaking objectively when I say it's probably quite likely. But there's a problem of neither of us at the moment have PCs that could run that. Personal PCs, I should say. We probably do have means, but they wouldn't be. They'd be sort of tangential. And also, if we couldn't talk about it, it would that would probably be really painful, actually, for us because of this. So I actually don't know if I would say yes.
I would, but I would because I'd want to be able to. I'd say yes, but that doesn't mean I would always play it, right?
Yeah.
Like I want access, but if it like hurts, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop playing until it's like almost done, and then we could actually start talking about it. But I think if they let us into it, they would know that we would talk about it. Because I don't think we'd be great with secrets, to be honest with you. At least I don't think we give off the impression that we're good with secrets. Considering we, talk about a game that hasn't had an update. Well, now it has, but it hasn't had an update in like fucking months. We managed to talk about it like constantly. But yeah, season 5, good.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like since seeing stuff, I honestly, we didn't really. I suppose we didn't actually learn anything new until the trailer. Since the live stream, really, like the big on the horizon stream, we didn't really find out anything. But when you look at what we've seen, which is things like the new secondary objectives, for example, being sort of coming to light as something else that's going to be in the update. Other sort of smaller things on the cosmetic side, like skin tones and an actual new framework and all these kind of things. These aren't huge things necessarily, but it's good to know that the green flag that is season 5 has only been getting greener with time. Nothing has come out that has made it seem less good than it seemed on that first live stream. It's only sort of been bolstered over time. By everything else that's sort of come out about it. So basically, this is going to be a weird sentence. There's no reason to not be confident that it's going to be good. I say about an update that's already out.
Yeah. And from the very little that seeps through, sounds like it is. It does. It sounds like it's exactly what it looked like it would be, which is everything anyone could want, right? If you wanted something, it's probably going to be there. And if it wasn't there, then you would have known about it for like a while now, right? Like
Yeah,
a
I guess.
perk overhaul
Well, I mean, you said something. You said basically,
Yeah.
you just said, paraphrasing what you just said 10 seconds ago. You said there's something for everyone, basically. Unless you're a massive perk fan. But if you're a fan of the perk Elemental Insulation, then you are actually in luck. I like how you're doing that, but you've got no idea what I'm actually talking about. But you do know what Elemental Insulation is, so.
Elemental Insulation.
The perk. Passive perk.
The one that reduces elemental damage.
Or supposedly does, even though I think it's only 30% actually. It's not high. But the main problem with it was the fact that the actual list of things that it affects or actually helps you against is very slim. And as a result, apparently, of community requests specifically, so a lot of like damage types have been changed to make it better, basically. Such as the Acid Spitter's damage over time effect, which I thought that was one of the few things that it worked on, was the Acid Spitter's actual poison effect. Apparently, it didn't, but now it does, because it's been changed to poison. Same with the Shellback. I didn't realise that the Shellback spit was purely explosive damage, which meant that Gunner actually did resist some of it. But now it's been changed to explosive and poison, which means I think that's Elemental Insulation, or at the very least it's Engineer's armor upgrade, his unique armor upgrade, which is poison resistance. Better than that actually is the fact that Nado Sight Shockers actually do electric damage now, which is affected by Elemental Insulation. So if you hate Nado Sight Shockers, Elemental Insulation has actually gotten better for you as a perk to take. Actually, this is actually not a bad one at all, which is changing the Dreadnoughts. Actually, all of the Dreadnoughts, the fireball attacks, because obviously every Dreadnought has a fireball attack in some way, to actually half of the fireball's damage is fire damage, which means Driller will resist some of that damage because of his temperature insulation. So lucky you.
The fireballs weren't actually doing fire.
Well, no. I mean, look, the only thing that was actually fire, technically, that was coming out of Dreadnoughts was the Lacerator's Flame Breath. The fireballs just dealt purely explosive damage before, which meant Gunner was actually the most resistant to them.
There's like so few things that I thought were fire, and it turns out it was even less.
I didn't even know you thought that, to be honest. I never thought about it.
You didn't know I thought that the fireball would deal fire damage. That was too absurd, was it? But I guess it does fire now, though. So that's handy. So it seems like this update was basically common sense. They made the elemental insulation actually insulate elements. They made the fireball deal fire, and they made the electric creature deal electric damage. So really, batting those balls, no swing and misses there.
Yeah.
I think that's what the phrase means.
There's a decent amount of like miscellaneous changes. Not all of them are that interesting. Apparently they added a new a salute that is specific to when you're using dual wield weapons, and I was like, what does that mean, right? Because they made it so that when you salute while holding the dual wield weapon, it only raises the right hand instead of basically making both hands disappear. So I guess the left hand weapon will still be in view, but that made me think, hold on, dual wield weapons, that's just the Zukov, right? And I was like, no, the drills are dual wield weapons as well. I actually completely forgot about that being a thing. Can we get maybe we could get some more? No, we're not going to get any more. It's ridiculous. Um, I'm just looking at the miscellaneous changes. See if there's anything actually. Well, okay. So here's the thing about the only thing, and it's not even a mark against season 5 necessarily. It's only because, and I'm going to make a point. I'm going to make a weird point pretty quickly after introducing this. There's no actual weapon balancing in season 5. But that's kind of what you're meant to do. You're kind of meant to do that sarcastically. It's just like, yeah, it would have been awesome, but that for whatever reason, that's a thing that's entirely on Mike, the lead game designer, who is probably very busy, and probably has been. And I personally can't blame him. But what?
You don't need it, right?
Not necessarily.
You don't need the weapon balancing. The reason why it worked so well during season 4 was because there wasn't any actual equipment.
This is where I was going to go with it.
Added.
Well, yeah, and because it was kind of just it wasn't a great update, but all the weapon balancing stuff was really good. That's kind of why it shone so brightly.
Well, it's as mentioned, it's the equipment and the gameplay stuff is what people need to play the game. Actually need to have a reason to jump back on the game. They need an item or new thing to interact with, and they need something new to do with it, right? Or something new to apply everything they already have to, or something new to apply to whatever is already there, right? Those two things work very well. Season 4 decided, nah, fuck that noise, and didn't add either of them really, in much. So it resulted in bullshit. But the weapon balancing was equipment, right? This time we got 12 new overclocks for all the primaries, and it's that fills the hole really. And they're probably balancing those overclocks. The balances will come for those overclocks. I don't doubt.
Well,
right?
They already have actually. There's one main one I want to get into in a moment, but I kind of want to harp on the lack of weapon balancing for a moment. It's not like it's not needed though. If you want to take the approach of every, looking at it in terms of upgrades can sometimes be a bit redundant, but if you want to look at it in terms of overclocks and the principle that every overclock should probably be almost equally usable, they're not done as far as weapon balancing goes, right? Flow rate expansion for the cryo cannon I bring up a lot. Which is that balanced one that doesn't do anything, right? It's not even just because it should be stronger, more so that that's the kind of overclock I would want the devs to take and just have some fun with, turning it into something more interesting or useful. There's absolutely a very long-term weapon balancing journey that needs to be embarked upon at some point, but it's still. We are in a good enough spot. Yeah, sure, the smart rifle is kind of bad, and that's becoming more and more apparent with the new overclock apparently being not great. The meta is still just executioner or explosive chemical rounds, which, let's be honest, we are at the point where most weapons break out of the hold of only having 2 viable builds, right? Most weapons escape that. The smart rifle unfortunately does not. So there's problems like that. But overall, yeah, season 5 is not brought down by that, and might not have been as improved by that as you might expect either, because it's actually doing stuff, unlike season 4, which is basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
There's actually so much in terms of gameplay to engage with when you really think about it. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it because you're out of the seven gameplay features that have been added, 6 of them are mutators and secondary objectives. But especially for the mutators, that is absolutely still new gameplay to engage with and sink your teeth into. Obviously, the mission is the biggest one, but of course, this for once, because I don't always like the idea of making your own fun, right? That's what Sea of Thieves basically markets itself on, right? But I am absolutely going to be using the Hazard 5 Plus system to introduce a new layer of, gameplay variations to engage with. I'm absolutely going to spend a lot of time working through every variation I can think of, pretty much. and obviously spending a lot of time with more enemies, I'm sure, and sort of things like that. And it's such a stark contrast to season 4, and that's the reason why all of that weapon balancing was so valued in season 4, right? Which is pretty much what you just said. Is because it was like almost the only truly good thing about it. Season 5 has a laundry list of things that are all good. That's the difference. And it's quite a stark and almost sad difference in the fact that the reason why it's okay that season 5 doesn't really have weapon balancing is because it's a good update, as opposed to season 4, which was bad. But that is kind of what it boils down to, really.
It's why it's why they made the decision that any resources put to weapon balancing would be better put somewhere else, because they've already got a bunch of overclocks coming in. However, the urge is still there, and there would have been a fair reason if the secondaries getting literally nothing is a bit sore, right? Like, at least if the secondaries got changed a little bit, maybe one of their overclocks got changed, then there's like something for the secondaries.
Yeah, because as usual, we were anticipating. I assume I'd kind of forgotten about it since we got all of the main season 5 reveal on the live stream. I kind of forgotten about the thing that we would naturally be anticipating a weapon overhaul or rework, right? As has become the standard for updates, not even just seasons, except the February one, I guess. The November update, though, did 2-in-1. I guess that's their excuse for not having one. But we're still anticipating one. So, what's it going to be? Maybe the Zukovs, right? And that would have, if the Zukovs had an overhaul in season 5, that covers secondaries as far as I'm concerned. If one of them gets reworked, not reworked. It wouldn't be a rework. It'd be some kind of overhaul, though. Like heavy tweaks and maybe giving it a 6th overclock. I don't know.
Which I think ultimately would actually, I think that would have been pretty solid, because I feel like Scout kind of got it the worst, in my opinion.
In
with
what?
the overclock.
Oh, I think these overclocks.
He got
maybe.
I think he got the least changes, if you know what I mean. The GK2, the burst fire doesn't change the way you use it in any way, shape, or form. It makes it nice to shoot, but you're still shooting the Griffiths in the head. That's what you've been doing all along. The M1000, in all fairness, probably is the most. Does change it the most. But it's with the Drac one, it changes the Drac into like a a status effect buffing weapon, which is interesting, but it's still ultimately not the same as carpet bombing stuff with missiles and turning your Thunderhead into like a.
Your problem is that it's more nuanced, actually.
Yeah,
sure, it's not. No, sorry, because I said that. That's stupid, because a lot of the other overclocks are actually more nuanced than you realize. Especially like cluster bombs, like cluster missiles, for example, where it's cluster missiles, sure, but that's a reload mechanic. It also just turns the missiles into fucking heavy warheads, which is something that everyone's wanted as well. It's actually 2 overclocks in one. And things like that. There's a lot of nuance everywhere else as well. I kind of know what you mean. I think I'm still gonna have a lot of fun, like, especially because Tyler, you've said you're probably gonna use burst fire a lot, right? You said
oh yeah.
As far as the GK2 goes, at least. Yeah.
But it's only because I like the way that it makes the gun feel the most. Not inherently because of the damage boost I get from hitting them in the weak points, which I don't really do most of the time anyway, because I suck cock and balls. But the burst fire, if it's just adding a default damage boost now, burst fire, which I generally like burst weapons in most games. Hemlock in any Titanfall game you want, for example.
You were careful there, weren't you? You didn't lead with Apex, though. You didn't lead with
no, I didn't.
The Hemlock from Apex Legends. Because if you did, that I would have pounced on you.
That's where I found my love. But then when you were like,
same though. When I first used, actually, that shouldn't be true, because I played a lot of Halo even before Titanfall 2. But and the battle rifle in Halo is probably one of the most like famous burst weapons in video games. But Titanfall 2's Hemlock was like the first time I realized I really like burst guns. And I guess it's like one of the only things that Deep Rock didn't have through some variation of its weapons, because we always talk about how, especially now, overclocks are an avenue to make sure that Deep Rock basically has every kind of weapon, despite only having 24 weapons in total. It has a lot more than that. You know, it's kind of the idea. Especially now we've got like a mortar cannon, for example. And now we've got a burst rifle. You know,
the sniper.
well, yeah, we already had our burst pistol, which is kind of weird. We had another burst pistol with the Sabata, but now we have our burst rifle, which is a type of weapon that, you know, it's quite. It's not niche, but it is niche when you already have another burst weapon, right? It's like, oh, why do you need a burst rifle if you've already got a burst pistol? It's just like, well, it's kind of nice, and I want Scout to have it. So, and it's there now. And I was ready to actually be pretty down on burst fire, actually, when we finally got our hands on them, because that's all it was going to be at first. Was just making it fire in a 3-round burst. But now that they've sort of taken the approach of, you know, having it actually elevate the power of the weapon. But obviously, you know, there is going to be a dynamic there where you are forced to fire 3 bullets at a time is actually going to become a small price for having that damage boost, where you are more liable to waste ammo as well, but it's still going to feel cool to have a burst weapon. And it's also increased damage. It's also +2 damage, by the way. I thought it was going to be like just +1 or something. No, it's +2 damage per bullet, so it's pretty good. It's going to actually be really strong now, I think. And I'm going to use it a lot, certainly. You know, it's sort of working as an interesting way. Because, you know, a lot of the GK2's overclocks do add damage, right? Most of them do, but it's all kind of indirect. This is the only example of it actually adding damage directly, but it's still done in a weird way because it's tied to a burst like fire overclock. So it's like they still can't just do just direct damage, but I'm kind of glad. I think the GK2 is so simple at base that, especially now, it's starting to have arguably one of the best overclock selections. I would say. So
I mean, I already thought it's one of the best. Like, after they reworked it, it became basically generally flawless. There's no like thing where it's like, why would you pick that in a million years? Like stuff like that. Like, and yeah, I think Burst Fire seems to be another in that collection. If anything, it falls into a little bit of the Warhawk category of being kind of basic, right? Which, you know,
what the gun itself.
Yeah,
I mean it does. I always think of electric reload, but it's like that's kind of on its own. It's kind of in its own weird sort of sphere. I mean, that's a very gun field changing overclock as well. That's like, I don't know what you would call that weapon. I guess like, you know, whatever a weapon is that fires like stacking damage over time projectiles. I don't know, a thorn rifle. Some random shit. It's still like a very different gun. Yeah, a nail gun, almost. Even though it's not the electric damage in the that stacks, but it still adds like a little tiny electric like detonator that the damage goes up with each bullet that you put in an enemy. But yeah, burst fire is actually really up there now. And I think there's been a lot of changes and sort of a lot of mulling over in my brain of what the different overclocks are and how they're going to be able to be used. It's going to make doing... when we actually come to ranking them, it's going to be really interesting, I think. And it's going to actually force Tyler to actually play a fair amount with other guns. Like the smart rifle.
No.
You did say it does. It sort of leans into what you would like to do with the smart rifle, but from what I understand, it's not that great of an overclock. So, joke's on you, I guess, for being a.
Yes, I'll continue to not use
a smart rifle hater. I don't know. I don't like the smart rifle. If you don't like the smart rifle, I mean,
I'm just an engine disliker. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. I think I dislike. Honestly, I think they made him worse. Like genuinely, I think adding the Gen 3 weapons and now and the grenades, I think he's actually come out of it probably the worst of the lot. Not strength-wise.
Agree.
I mean, I think the shard diffractor completely like breaks a lot. I think in a way that isn't entirely good.
Is that because it has a lot of ammo by any chance?
Kind of, yeah. To be
Yeah,
honest
yeah.
with you, which I
Because
know is
I
supposed to
really,
let up the
I
primary.
well, the thing is about the shot factor, it's weird because it almost wasn't that, was it? When it was originally a burst weapon, where you had to
Exactly.
use the whole magazine at once. But now it's like I almost can't separate myself from it. Like I don't like using the breech cutter anymore because I like having. I now have the option to have a secondary with a lot of ammo in it, and then the smart
Exactly.
rifle.
I
The
really.
smart rifle is just kind of not great. That's the smart rifle's problem.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so
It's
and
got four is
then
terrible.
and the shredder is so good that it makes me not want to use NG's other grenades as much,
It
even though they
really is,
are
and this
good.
is just
Like NG has really
I
good
genuinely,
grenades, but the shredder's
yeah.
so
Well, the thing is,
strong. The shredder's
as we're like the only people, I genuinely think we are the only people
stop there. We're
who
the only
care about
people.
grenades
Only people left.
that this much. But because we did like polls
Yeah.
on that. Before the grenades were added, the only person with a fucked like well, yeah, no, I think the only person with a fucked
Yeah.
grenade pool was Driller.
Yeah.
That was it. Like he was the only one with axes that took over the other options. But meanwhile, when they added the new grenades, I think Scout somehow got fucked up. I think people started splitting off into the little cults, and there was a fight like that.
Scout.
Axes still reign supreme, but the point
Scout.
is,
Scout got
uh,
interesting. I don't think Scout has a problem. He just got interesting.
no. It's because Scout's grenades are so important that people actually care about Scout's grenades. Like those are the only grenades you hear people talking about, right? Is because Scout's grenades are important to his kit. But the point is that engineers went from being a balanced set of grenades that were actually like utility, like people kind of figuring out their playstyle, to shredders. What should I use in this situation? Shredders. It's like you either you either put in a bunch of effort, set up landmines that then hit teammates and you get shouted at, or you use a plasma burster, which is like your burst option to deal with the situation, but you hit a teammate and get shouted at, or you use a lure which does nothing and you hit a teammate and get shouted at, and it's like,
No, well, the lures are technically good. They'd be good if they were
we
his
gave Lillard
only
a lot more shit
option.
than apparently they.
Well, hold on, because what I just said, I don't know if you heard what I just said. It's really stupid, but it's still correct. The lures would be good if they were his only option, which is obvious, but you still know what I mean. They still do what they do. They still.
That was when we were going through that whole grenade scenario. That was the thing we got the most shit for. Was dissing on the lures. There were tons of people that just said we were like fucking buffoons for not understanding the lures value, which there is value there.
I'm not saying
right?
we're not
But
buffoons.
I would say even more than the other ones, right? The plasma burster is like the simplest one, but it's kind of it only really pays off as well as it does. Right? Like you throw it, and if there's a lot of enemies, they die. If there isn't as many, then it's like it's not that great. It's just an average grenade essentially. Average.
I'm not gonna. No. I'm not taking. Whatever. I'm just saying.
Fancy average grenade. You throw it, and a bunch of enemies die. It really isn't any more sophisticated than that, other than its fanciness. It's like, oh, I'm blue and I bounce with gravity and like momentum.
Blue,
it's like,
you colorblind.
It's like purple or some shit.
It's purple. It's also
step up.
Fine. Carry on.
You then step up to proximity mines, which take positioning, forethought, just for it to get taken up on one grunt that walks on them because they're not great still.
It happens every time. They just get used up with single grunts. That actually does happen a lot.
I do think all of engineers' grenades are good in concept, but are slightly flawed in one way or another. I think generally there's something wrong with them, which is I think the lure is the one I have the most problem with, but I think is then the most like forethought. The value you get out of a lure is purely using your engineer intelligence to utilize it in the correct way.
You're almost at the threshold of understanding the problem with the shredder, and you might have already been thinking this, but I think you've exposed the issue. The issue is that the shredder makes all of the things that make all the things you just described, all the problems with the other grenades. Before the shredder, they were the nuances of those grenades. They weren't flaws. They were just the things that made them distinct. The problem with the shredder, you get no flaws,
but you have to pay for this.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
One of the things, it's like, oh,
but
the
now
shredder is like,
yeah, the fact that the fact that if you're kind of based on like positioning or just not being as clever as you could be results in wasting proximity mine charges was part of the gameplay of using the grenade. And the plasma burster, part of it being like a very it very often just killing you is a part of you have to understand how it works in relation to momentum to make sure not only using it effectively but also safely. Lures timing is very important, all those things. The shredder,
with
there's no
the shredders,
gameplay. You just throw it and it just does its thing. That's it. That's it. There's
you
nothing
throw the
engaging
shredders,
about it, and so it makes
you
all of
throw
the
the
other
shredders,
all
and
the
you
other
now
grenades nuances seem like flaws. You know?
yeah, you throw the shredders, and you now have the aura of like a just if enemy gets near you, they die, right? You just have that permanently for the next
Like 40
I don't know, what is it
seconds. It's
like
like it's not
40 seconds,
insane, but it's still long enough.
dude. Like if you were solo, you could realistically maintain that for the entire game, right? That is not unbelievable. 40 seconds, assuming they don't die from dealing like too much damage, which they would do, but like still, like 40 seconds, you get 4, right? Starting
Yeah, you get 4 grenades.
4, and then whenever you resupply, you get 2 more, don't you?
Yeah.
You only get half back. So I guess maybe not then, but still, like 4 resupplies for one
That was
solo
interesting.
person.
That tells you how little you've been playing Deep Rock. You have to check that resupplies give you how much they give you back.
I was thinking about because the equipment gives you just your entire equipment back, doesn't it? So I was trying to think about. What
Does it?
it gives you all of no not equipment. What is it then? I think it gives you all of
Some
it.
things round up, is what you're thinking of.
Right, maybe
In a
yeah.
weird way. You're
Might-
thinking of satchels for some reason.
I might have been, but point is that I think there's probably like then eight grenades in a pod, and then applied to your 4. I mean that's like 40 seconds times 12 is like fucking
This is a weird.
maths.
It's weird that you're trying to do this on the fly.
Point is that you could get like you could have the uptime be more often than not. Definitely. 100% you could have the shredders up for more of the mission than not if you wanted to. And
You
the
could have.
shredders,
Okay, I'll say something that's more definitive. You could have shredders active for a majority of
that's what I
combat
mean, yeah.
time, if you wanted to.
You could have them up all the time.
Well, no, I'm just
Guaranteed. As soon as
being
enemies
safe.
spawn-
You're being too dogmatic. You're being too dangerous with your claims. I'm making a claim that is much more provable than yours.
My point is that there is no punishment for shredders. They do all the work themselves. All you have to do is throw it. And you would assume, with that in parameters in mind, like, sure, the shredders are the simplest, easiest, and least punishing grenade on engineer. But since it's engineer, they should be weak. They're not. They're quite strong, right? I think we can agree on that. That they're quite strong. All the damage they do is guaranteed, and the damage they do is a significant amount. Any enemy that gets like close to you, and like maybe some of the ones that are flying, Mactera, like fucking spitball, piece of shit on the ceiling. Like, point is, they are broken, and they completely ruined engineers' grenades. And I think what the original point was, I think engineer got worse as a character. His strength increased because the shredders are easier and stronger. The fucking laser beam is easier and stronger. The smart rifle is easier, but ultimately not stronger. I will admit. But they made engineers stupid with Gen 3 equipment, and not weaker,
kind of.
which is what I think. But you couldn't make them weaker, but they made them easier. And it's like, because that was the thing. The burst weapon, when this is the shard diffractor thing, when they came up with the shard diffractor, I think they were about right. It is a burst weapon where you have to use it wisely. But people are like, engineer, use wisely. I can't be doing that shit. So they made it like, fucking just a gun that shoots a laser beam for free, no penalties. Like, it's just you get to shoot for as long as you want.
And by the way,
fun.
that can't be overturned at this point, right? Especially with automated
No,
beam
not at
controller
all.
existing as a legacy overclock, right? I kind of wish it would have been great if we were to be able to go back in time and sort of rewind it so that it probably shouldn't have used up as much ammo every time you pulled the trigger as it did, but maybe like a smaller. So think of the shard diffractor now having around 400-ish ammo or something.
Honestly, mate, I don't think they should have used ammo. I genuinely think it's like a battery. right? And it's like you shoot it and the battery like drains out, and that's like how it like displays or something like that. Like if it showed that a shot takes up one whole thing, and then you have a certain amount of things, then I guess it's just ammo, but the ammo count is lower. Like something like that, then it would have been
So
fine.
you
But like
have
for some
like
reason,
20 batteries, and that's like a burst or something.
yeah, and it's like then basically, and it is essentially ammo again. But like the problem was is that they had like people watched as like 30 ammo drained out of their weapon and only 10 of it actually did any damage because they used it against a single grunt, and they were like, this is terrible, when they should have realized that it was supposed to be like a PGL, right? You don't shoot a PGL at a single fucking grunt. It is a engineer secondary, but because no one fucking got the memo, and it occurred before most people even got to play it, it was in the beta branch, right, or the early access shit, then they completely changed the weapon. And sure, it didn't play that well, but like they turned it into a free item. It's just free, and I don't know. This is something I didn't know I thought about engineer.
And this is not
This
where
might
I
explain
thought this would go.
why
This episode at all.
I don't like engineer. He's my least favorite by a significant amount. Um,
I think
but
this might have something to do with the fact that I've started to like engineer less. You know, the fact that I would say, I first of all, do you know what's really weird? I really the amount that I like playing Scout has really gone up over the last year or so. But if you were to ask me who I like playing the most, I'm probably going to say Gunner, right?
that's only going to go up realistically with the new overclock.
It's definitely going to go up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's going to benefit the most for me personally, but it's probably not going to be engineer for me. I say that I'm actually a big fan of both the stubby overclocks, if there being two. And honestly, the less interesting one, which is the actual new one, does actually interest me. It's a pretty straightforward weak point bonus overclock, and I'm all for it. So the stubby's been getting better. The stubby has been improving for me a lot, actually. I really like the stubby now, and I don't think that's only gonna get better as well. But the smart rifle, I almost went through like a false honeymoon period with the smart rifle where I thought I liked it, or I thought it was like good, and then I've sort of come back around now to like not liking
yeah, you
it
were
that
like,
much.
the smart rifle was terrible, it sucks. And eventually, like, I think we did the video where you said that, and then people were like, the smart rifle doesn't suck. And you were like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't suck. And now you're back to, no, it does suck. No,
Well,
it does suck.
I'm in like a weird zone where I don't think it's too weak, but I do still think it kind of sucks. I think it being too weak is not necessarily that valid anymore. But it definitely isn't as, it's not as well designed as it should be. It's got a really stupid selection of upgrades, especially in certain tiers. Like, it's really dumb.
You'll notice that once again, the Gen 3 weapon for engineer is being described as stupid. Because I do think that is the
well,
problem.
you know, it's like this isn't even like a
weapons.
weird like thing where it's like us starting to realize a problem that we have with the game necessarily, because you look at Gen 3, you look at the other classes, any of them. I was about to say especially the primaries, but no, look at all of the other weapons that they added in Gen 3. I mean, you can start with the primaries, right? Some people don't like the track, their brains don't work, that's fine. But seriously, look at the other three weapons, especially the sludge pump. Oh my god. It's like, and they do not betray though. They don't betray anything about the classes though either.
The thing is,
even the sludge pump.
I would have said this. It's pretty funny. Engineer got dumber Gen 3. Driller got smarter Gen 3. Right? Like, can we like the difference between the flamethrower and the cryo cannon to the sludge pump is fucking heaven and hell. Like, it is like an absolute chasm, like, of just, you know, it's like shoot forward or shoot at floor.
I kind of think
forward.
Tyler, I think everyone else got at least a little bit smarter. I think even Gunner got slightly smarter. I think the coil gun is more sophisticated than the other
being able to home
secondaries.
Right? That's pretty smart.
Yeah, and the Hurricane is awesome. The Hurricane is like the smart rifle where I thought it was bad at first, but after realizing it was good, that part hasn't gone away because it's true. The Hurricane is awesome. It's actually amazing. It's like maybe the best weapon. It's like up there with the sludge pump for me now. Just brilliant.
Second for me. Not like overall, just Gunner. But yeah, no, it's like I don't know. Engineer got the short end of the stick, and obviously Scout. You can say what you want about the Dirac. The crossbow is fire. Really often, that's its strongest build, admittedly, and it can be just carried by that. But it is by no means the only build. That thing is full of cool builds. And obviously, fucking the wave cooker, as mentioned, is like smarter than the other ones. I mean, not that smart. Sometimes, if you ignored the boil one, it's actually not that complicated. It's often fairly self-explanatory. It's like, if you're using the sludge pump, you use the sludge pump one. If you're using a temperature weapon, use the temperature stuff, and it's like put ammo on it, job done. Really, end of the day. But then you realize, add radiation onto the corrosion thing, you're going to do even more damage.
It's not
And then
well, it's not that it's super
the
smart.
boil.
It just has a really surprising number of unique mechanics. Like it's got
Yeah.
more unique upgrades and overclocks than pretty much any other weapon, I'd say. You know, like the fact that
Yeah.
it's got
And
a tier of upgrades that is just two different firing modes to choose between. How the tier 5 is basically all three of them like unstable overclocks, and then the overclocks get pretty weird like immediately with things like a close range damage bonus or like radiation and blisters and things. It's got like probably the most different, unique mechanics
I mean, the
to
ballistas is like
choose
the
from, I
only
should
thing
say.
they added.
Um,
Fucking like as stumped lazy maybe. It was like, how the fuck even is this like existing, right? Like that was like absurd.
I
And I
swear
realized
I
actually the
swear the
EPCs,
mechanics, like the internal mechanics of those things, like create themselves. I swear Ghost Ship don't know where it all comes from. They make blisters, and then suddenly all of the internal logic just appears in the code itself.
they just like see if it fills in and the blisters pop themselves, and then let whatever occurs there like occur. Yeah, and then obviously, I mean, well, the core gun is. I mean, you're a fan of the core gun, but I would say that's not. I would say it's as simple as Gunner needed it to be. I don't think it's inherently smarter, but I think it's still thing. But yeah, I think I don't even remember what the original point was, but I know that the current point is that engineers new weapons are too simple, and too free. It makes the other ones look bad. Like people use the PGL for fun, with like Fat Boy and that. Not seen many. Well, I haven't played the game, but Breach Cutter isn't talked about as much as it should anymore because people just keep using the other one that has a lot more ammo. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you've
Um,
discovered something actually. I think which I don't say too often. I think sometimes I just agree with you for the sake of it, but I think for once you actually not for once. That's rude. But you are. I think you are actually onto something about engineering specifically. That I never thought of. Like I said, not where I thought we'd end up going with this episode. But hey, no problem. That filled in a lot of time.
oh,
So
phew.
we're almost at like the minimum time, which I always forget. No, I don't forget, but I never really reiterate. For some reason, I've decided that the minimum is an hour and a quarter. I don't know why. I don't know. I just feel like an hour is not enough. Um,
Had
because
that quarter.
because a majority of them have like so for so long it would been so easy to get over that. We never even thought about it. There hasn't been an
We
episode that's
normally take
only an
like
hour.
one topic. Like even if we only have one thing to talk about, it will normally take us like an hour and a quarter. Like it'll do. I mean that alone took probably like half an hour, right? I imagine.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't even know what caused it, actually.
Weapon balancing.
Well, yeah, we were
Lack
talking about weapon
thereof.
balancing. Well, there is actually one thing. And this is the thing. Season 5 technically has no weapon balancing. There's no weapon balance section in the patch notes, but there is something that they did do, and it's weird that it is like not in its own section. Because I'm actually just going to read the note. So this is in the miscellaneous section. Increase the explosion damage of the special explosive chemical bolts on the bolt shark crossbow, and change the damage type to explosive. So it now hits Glyphid Slasher and Mectera spawn breakpoints. I'll simplify
I
that.
completely glazed over there.
I'll simplify that. Crossbow chemical bolt explosions now do enough damage to kill Slashers and Mectera spawn. That's it. Whereas before, whereas before the only enemy that a single bolt could kill like in one go would be a grunt or anything weaker. Now it's up to the level of slashers and standard Mactera, which is actually going to help that.
Mactera?
What?
Did you say staggered Mactera or standard?
Standard Mactera.
Right, that makes way more sense. I thought Mactera only if it was like, whoa, man, and you shoot it, and that's the only time you can kill it. Which, yeah, this makes more sense. But are they actually on the same, or is it just they're really close together? Or they?
That's a good point. Because if it does enough now to do both, well, it might have something to do with the fact that Macteras probably have some kind of explosive weakness. Yes, they do. They actually take double damage from explosions. So there you go. Not that difficult.
What the effect? What is it? The poison that they take actually explosive damage? Is that what it's under?
No. What?
That's what it's referring to, right? It's when you shoot something with the thing.
No. The explosion that happens got buffed when a thing dies.
Right, but the Mactera is like never near anything, and it's been particularly great against Macteras, has it?
You get groups of them.
Yeah, but even then they're not that close together.
So the slasher. So we have to assume this works for Hazard 5. The slasher has 177.6 health. Okay. Currently, the chemical bolt explosion does 165. So it's probably only gone up by about 10 or so damage. So it was very close.
Well,
it was really
them on 1 health.
Yeah, or 2.6 health. So it was already very close. So it hasn't been buffed by much, but it's still, that's a breakpoint change. Obviously, it's gonna be a lot of fucked breakpoints on Hazard 5 Plus. That's what so that's gonna change a lot of things. But I think I guess crossing that quite basic threshold is gonna make Hazard 5 feel a bit more secure when we get into the more unstable difficulty that will be a very literal unstable difficulty, which is Hazard 5 Plus, because you can just tweak it and there's going to be a variety of toughness. Obviously only 2 different varieties, but it's still going to be like toughness 1 and then toughness 2, both of which might have their own separate pools of breakpoints, I'm just imagining the difference in what differences there could be between breakpoints between toughness level 1 and toughness level 2. If there'll be any, that's really going to fuck with people. If there are differences even between those two, modifiers, I suppose. Oh god. Just looking at more of the miscellaneous notes. Not all of it's that interesting actually. Which is just really basic stuff. But we did get Ragdoll Lifetime toggle. Can you? What are you doing?
I'm letting my hair down.
Yeah, but it's over your head.
It's Maybelline. No, wait. What is that?
I don't know.
I think of a hair product.
No, there's not actually. There's not.
Or you do your job, and then I'll think.
This doesn't.
No, you're not doing.
This doesn't make me want to do my job though.
I was thinking. What?
What?
Well, a job isn't what you get paid for. It's just what you have to do, right?
No, I think
when someone's got a job to do, it doesn't inherently mean the thing that they're getting paid for.
You're right. I have a job to do. My job is to turn down the lifetime of dead bodies.
Turn down.
That sounds. That's right. That does sound very weird on its own. I meant they added the Ragdoll Lifetime option to tweak. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Very easy to see why they might have done such a thing. As in, they've added this option in general, but I
Get
think
rid
more
of the
specifically for
bobbing
us,
head
because I think this kind of was already an option on PC. Because I think on PC you can have it so the enemies just disappear as soon as you know their health goes. They just that gone. But now we can do it too. As in, I assume you'll be able to turn it down to 0, right? Which means an enemy will just disappear as soon as it dies. So that's fun. But yeah, obviously this is for more enemies. For Hazard 5 Plus, that is not doesn't take much. It's not a big
if
logical leap.
the enemy's
Or
already dying at like regular levels. Like if you have a lower power Xbox.
yeah, if you're on
I
Xbox
wonder if
One
Xbox
or a
One
PS4,
can still handle it. Did
what
they
the,
even add it to the PS4 when they cross-gen, or when they added it?
oh yeah, it might not be on PS4 at all. I don't
The
know.
PS5 was out when they did that.
Yes, of course it was.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that. Continue.
No.
No.
Fuck it. New secondary objectives. The thing we haven't really been able to talk about properly. We talked about it on the last video, right? But we haven't talked about it in this context. So we theorized that this might be a thing, right? When they strongly implied that there was even more stuff in season 5, which we at the time it was like we could easily boil that down to whatever small miscellaneous changes there are, like the stuff I just mentioned, right? But there was also that the thing in the back of your mind is just like, well, they've already done so much. So what if there is more? Basically that. And there is. There are 2 new secondary objectives. And like I said, we have technically covered these, but we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
One of them.
Oh yeah. Go on.
Is
Do you remember? Do you remember?
the Barbarnacle.
Are you looking at something? Or are you actually remembering this?
Is a little thing.
Oh my god.
On the, I think it's not. Is it, I saw it was on the ceiling. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if it's
they are.
always there.
Yeah, they are. I think they are ceiling dwellers.
Ceiling creatures.
Definitely not on the
And
floor.
then there are a bunch of eggs. Eggs. Like an egg on the floor, like the ones that have been in the game like forever, which I think that's where people are getting pissy about. Oh god, there's blood. Right? You mentioned the lazy thing. Is that where this is coming from?
I think so. I think. Well, no. I saw. Right. What I saw was admittedly Steam comments. Right. So. Right. Yeah.
That doesn't count as words.
Unfortunately, they do. Unfortunately, these people do have rights. And this guy, whoever he was, said something about season 5's like quite pronounced proclivity for being, the term I like to use is economic, right? And the way they like to spin it is lazy. Now, I want to jump the gun a little bit and say, if they weren't being lazy, season 5 would have a lot less stuff in it. Basically, that's the truth of it. Like even
we
the
wouldn't
things.
have 2 secondary objectives.
No,
right?
we
That's
wouldn't.
out the gate.
Exactly.
Pull that off.
Well, look, think about like the anomalies. I mean, blood sugar is actually kind of interesting, but secret secondary isn't. As in, it's not, but it's still a new anomaly. But it's so basic. It's just adding another secondary mission. Like so much of a lot of the gameplay content outside of the mission type and the overclocks is just tweaking numbers, even Hazard 5 Plus, but it's still going to add such an insane amount of replayability and just a fresh coat of paint to the game. Yet it's still not that intensive in terms of, work gone into things. And there obviously is a shitload of work. Like, look at the event, for example, right? The Corestone event. That's a lot of artistic effort there. What are you doing now?
I'm looking at it.
At what?
I'm looking at the Corestone. It's burning my eyes, Harry.
Exactly, but that's like, there's clearly a shitload of unique effort gone into that. Like a lot of
the
new
animation
stuff that's been made.
The crack.
Yeah.
That was probably like a day minimum of like hard work.
More, I'd say.
Probably actually a lot longer, really, thinking about it.
But so, well, the barnacles are a slightly new model, but the glyphid eggs, right? Yeah. So the glyphid eggs are literally just the smaller version of the ones that you find in. I still think it is. I'm pretty sure it is just the Dead Spire Zone, but they are literally those downscaled. And yeah, they do actually. There are swarmers in them. Single swarmer in each one. So if you hate swarmers, then
what I want to know
you're gonna hate more.
Is have they now removed the normal ones that aren't a secondary objectives, or are they now both a thing?
Oh, they're definitely both a
If
thing.
both a thing, if you get that secondary objective in the dense biozone, will there be double the amount or of like eggs around? Or like is that going to be a situation if you killed the egg that normally spawns there? Is that going to count for the objective?
Well, no, because like I just said, they're different. They're different sizes.
Right.
One is big. The ones in the secondary objective are like really small. I don't know. Let's do a thing. This is the normal one. Okay, this is the normal one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new. This is the new one.
Actually, that big of a difference?
Yeah. No. It's not. It's not quite that extreme. But they are literally. They barely look like they could fit a single swarmer. But they do. They're sort of like that size. It's like you can imagine they're so small that you can imagine the swarmer is like actually curled up inside it.
All right.
And but the point of that secondary objective is obviously just to be a one with a very high quota. Like it's 40, which is the highest of any secondary objective by far, except Dystrom, which is 100. But Dystrom's weird. But yeah,
it doesn't count as a secondary objective. I wish that was a glitch. I wish like this like secret secondary would like accidentally spawn Dystrom and missions it never normally is. I wish that occurred.
I mean, if it somehow spawned deep dive secondary objectives, I would probably flip my shit. Especially because they also added new deep dive secondary objectives.
Yeah. They thought about deep dives.
Hell yeah.
This never normally occurs.
Well, it's a little bit annoying. It's a little bit annoying because it means we are going to have to play at least one deep dive, like just objectively.
Yeah.
New, but it is still weird. So they added I don't think they ever actually have done this. I don't think they've ever added deep dive secondary objectives past the first initial introduction of deep dives, and the only the only time that they've added anything to deep dives is when new missions have been added. And they did it. They had to put the new missions in the deep dive. There you go. But they never added new secondaries for any of them. Obviously, the new mission, Deep Scan, gets put in deep dives, but they also, along with it, bring a secondary objective version, which is just the first half of the mission, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's just that. I do think it's more than one still. I think there is like 3 like resonance crystals to find, but it's just that stage. They also added an on-site refining version for a secondary objective, which is literally exactly what I imagined it would be, which is just like there is a single Morkite well and a mini refinery that gets cooled down, and you just have to connect them. Basically, it's short, simple, but it still, has a little bit of the on-site refining pipe building mechanics in a deep dive mission that isn't on-site refining, I guess. So yeah, if you play deep dives, for some reason, still. Slightly more interesting, I guess.
Harry, new people. New people play deep dive.
I don't like new people. They play deep dives.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Is that all? Is that every single thing they added in season 5?
What, 2 new secondary objectives and 2 new deep dive secondary objectives? I mean, there's a time when 2 new secondary objectives would have been like an... I don't know if reasonable is the right word, but not an unexpected form for the main content of a season to take. I think there was a time when we were suggesting something like that, where it's just like, maybe we could at least get like, I don't know, maybe like a more substantial, unique secondary objective instead of a warning next time. Something like that. I'm pretty sure we suggested that at some point. So, season 5 having the propensity to just have a couple new secondary objectives just for the hell of it, it just adds to the pile, really, doesn't it, of season 5. And who thought that we would get any? And it's the thing, they're not even that like special, really. But that's almost like, that almost warms my heart, you know? The fact that they are so just, they're so just there, and that's it. But just them being there is enough to make me smile, you know? So I don't mind that they are nothing, very little beyond just being there. Because it's the kind of thing, he's starting to really get on my nerves now. It's the kind of thing that... It's the kind of very simple thing that kind of just stopped happening for a really long time. But it was just so simple. And it's that, and it's, you know, just normal mutators, anomalies, especially because we hadn't got any new anomalies. I don't even know since when. And obviously other random stuff like cosmetics that aren't part of the performance pass of cosmetic tree. Not that there should be any, because truthfully speaking, there should have been skin colours in the performance path before, right? I'm sure we agree on this. That's an obvious thing. Hasn't been the case. And that's why they've added 8 skin tones. You can take that and mock surprise off your face, because I know that you actually kind of give a shit about this.
Cosmetics. I'm known for not liking or caring about cosmetics.
There you go.
I don't give a rat's that they've just added a ton of the things that we've been groveling for the last couple of years. I don't care. I'm not a guy who cares. Zip it, home dog. Oh, but seriously though, it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know all of them. I know there's a red one.
Yep, the red one.
Which I like the sound of.
Yeah.
Gonna slap that on my demon boy. I know there are some others which I do like, because what I do with my dwarves is I try and make sure that I don't repeat anything within class. Basically, if I use a beard, the bulbous beard, then no other of the class can use that either.
Can I just point out, everyone, there are a lot of things that I do, and there's a lot of like sort of behavioural intricacies that I have that Tyler basically constantly calls me out on as like being, you know, autistic and wrong for being autistic.
It's not a matter
and yet Tyler literally cannot bring himself to reuse a small cosmetic on one of his dwarves between loadouts.
Because it is like, right, you find what you like, right? The scarab beard, for example, and it's like, what? Then just copy that on every fucking dwarf? No, you need to things, and the best way of making sure things are different.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying I wish that I did.
Banning, completely banning any repeats, which now I won't because that was one of the things. Skin color. I mean, I'd still change it up, right? Like as much as I possibly can.
Oh, so you did have repeats.
In fact, some of them probably. I assume I do, but I still probably have a fair bit of variety, more than need be. But now I will have no excuse. If it's just like a white ass dwarf next to a white ass dwarf, now I will have a slightly different gradient of white to change things up with, or like a tan dwarf now a slightly different tan dwarf. Jaundice will probably say the same. It's probably still use that. I doubt there's a replacement for jaundice. Same with the gold skin color, which I don't use actually. I don't know why I'm saying that.
What? Not at all.
But
That's it's not the best one. It's but it's interesting.
if there was actual gold armor and actual gold, like if I could make a golden man, I would. Right? If there was golden hair color, I think that would be pretty balling. Which I think honestly, if they're going for this long, I think golden hair color would have been a good hair color to leave it on. I'm not even sure what color it is. Isn't it just like a fairly normal one?
It's pretty standard. It's like I don't know what it is. It dusty? I think it's what it's called. It's basically like honestly, it's not even a real hair color, really. It's like when people are blonde, but it almost looks grey. If you know what I mean.
Exactly. Like a hair like that, like seriously, you're leaving it off on that?
Well,
like,
they're not, right? They're not.
Dude, even if they come back, which well, no, I'm of the belief they will, but season 6 will be the end. But when they do, it will still be 2 years, right? We're thinking like you can lowball a year and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be kind.
Oh yeah,
because they are planning on like releasing Rocore in a year and a half, and they said they won't even think about or start working on season 6 until Rocore comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you? If it takes 6 months to make a season, start working in a year and a half. You do basic fucking maths. There we are. 2 years later, getting season 6. And in that season, we'll get secondary overclocked and hopefully gold hair of the exact same variety and tone as the skin color. The
one thing they genuinely seem incapable of doing is this. Is having things match. They just can't do it.
I want to be able to make my dwarf look like an Oscar or whatever the golden statue blokes from. And if you don't let me do that, I will blow up. I will not anything in particular. I will just simply sit here, and then stock explosion effect will appear as my family mourns my loss. All because Ghost Ship didn't add golden hair color. The exact same as the skin one. Just copy paste.
Or silver skin. Where's the silver skin?
Do that as well.
And the silver hair to go with it.
Not before the gold one.
Yeah. Well, okay. I remember.
I realize now the golden skin color is from a DLC pack, isn't it? So it's a bit.
No,
isn't it?
No, it's just really. It's just.
I thought it was part of the sponsored first supporter pack.
No, it's not. It's just in the store. It's expensive. I think it's the most expensive thing in the shop, but it's just there for you to buy right now. That's the weird thing about the skin tones, actually, because they're adding 8 of them, and 5 of them are just default now, which is quite a lot. And also, I don't remember the last time they added any default like cosmetics.
What one straight into your inventory?
Yeah, I don't remember that happening ever. Like
ever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very weird. So I mean, take that, right?
It's them basically saying that they should have been in there in the first place, right? Like, I think that's kind of the way of going about it.
This is what I meant a couple days ago when I said that I wanted to use the skin tones to make a weird point. Actually, I think I said this in a video, and the point is that obviously, as they've established, season 6 will happen. But I've always kind of pushed back a little bit against whenever you've said that season 5, even in itself, is a farewell of sorts. But it's just like I can't help but look at something like them adding it seems trivial, right? But them adding something like skin tone for the first time in like 5 years, right? What other reason do you have to do that than the fact that, you're gonna be gone for a while, basically? It kind of reeks of that kind of thing to me. I don't like using the word reeks, like that has negative connotations, but to me, that's kind of what it implies, right? It's like, we need to do this now because we just haven't done it in so long, and that's kind of what season 5 has to be at this point. It's just essentially an update that actually remembers everything that's in the game, unlike, honestly, to a certain extent, unlike pretty much every season, especially season 4 and 3, but almost all
Harry,
of
though,
them.
you know what I mean? Like,
No, I don't.
well, it feels you can't. I don't know. 'Cause it's not like they've always done it, right? Like back in update time, they wouldn't add to everything, would they? I mean, they would add the thing.
Well, that's like even
But
more
like,
evidence, though, isn't it? For what, like that approach to season 5 of like
yeah.
essentially approaching it like a final update, right?
So just going through it, like when like and this is bringing it back to a video that will be relevant, next week. When the Doctor, like as he dies, Tenant One, and he kind of goes back and visits like every notable person in his like run. It's like that. It's like they're like skin color.
So
Here's a bunch.
does this make hold on?
Framework.
What does this make Elton the perks or the loadout slots?
Perks.
Yeah.
Definitely perks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Loadout slots is whoever he just no one even thought of. Craig.
Craig.
Loadout.
That's after.
Craig.
That's
Yeah.
after. That's after. Later.
Exactly.
He visits Craig later. Because we're gonna get loadout slots next week in a patch, aren't we, Anders? That's not fair. I can't. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't.
Well, he knows, right? That's the thing. That's really the thing, is because a commenter actually made, like commented, like, we really need loadout slots. And Anders was like, I agree, I'll bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't occurred, which really only makes us think, unless he
Pardon me.
said that, forgot about it, or said that and didn't really do anything about it, it really makes it seem like that was a no, right? That there was a no,
Yeah.
the answer to that question. But I mean, if we didn't know about Anders' comment and like his, that he would say something, we could assume that they haven't thought about it. But we know they thought about it, and the fact that it's still not here, it's I don't know. It's like it is genuinely concerning. Like this is the only bad thing about this update, but it really feels like it shouldn't be. Right? If everything is as fixed and repaired and good as they're making it out to be, and then making it out to be being how good this update is, then why isn't there loadout slots? Like it is such. It doesn't make sense in their current track record that the loadout slots are like non-existent. It just doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm.
It to make no sense, right?
Nope.
But here's hoping, I don't know, they'll get round to it before they fuck off for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Because genuinely, it will stop me playing. I know it will. I know that will be the main reason. Not inherently credited to it, but it's like, I'm getting all these cosmetics, but there's no dwarfs to put them on. I'm getting these overclocks, making these builds, but I'm running out of space to use them. Right? I know I will almost immediately, but we'll definitely eventually just run out of steam because the game won't let me customize more dwarves and make more builds. I know it to be a fact.
So what we need though, we need to actually gauge. We need to gauge if there's anyone else like you, because otherwise, because you alone are not going to sway them, right? Let's be honest.
I think it should be.
Yeah, you would think that. The dangerous thing is, I believe that you might actually think that a little bit.
What do you mean? I know. No. I'm not even doing a bit. I know for a fact because it's already almost the reason, right? I have filled up all of my slots with builds because of the overclocks, and I have customized all my dwarves to various success. Like I have run out of things to do in my mind, pretty much. Like I've got Driller to promote like quite a few times. That's all I ever needed or wanted. I don't give a shit a rat's ass about the other ones. Like if they gave me like 4 more dwarves per class, right, that would make it like 10, right? 10 class slots. Then that would probably do me, I would think. Like I'd be hard pressed to customize and build all 10 of those. And if I do eventually, then that's kind of reasonable, at least, right? That's like, I don't know. But right now, yeah, I think it's going to be a problem. Like I genuinely think I will stop playing the game within a couple months if there isn't more loadout slots. That will
Well, I
be
mean,
the main reason.
if you've been playing for a couple months, I'd say they won. So that's on you.
Months compared to the
Tyler,
years.
Tyler,
that
you've got to
they're
stop
building.
after the first day if you want to make a point. Truthfully speaking, that basically brought it full circle actually, because we literally remember I started.
Yeah.
I interrupted the intro to talk about loadout slots. So, but instead of ending it, let's talk about music. Let's talk about music instead. Well, no, that was like another really weird surprise. Obviously, just another track in there. Not the most out of the blue thing. Season 4 added a new piece of music, so it's not that crazy. Maybe it should be a standard for seasons. Maybe it should have been for a long time. Maybe it should have been. I'm thinking. Who am I thinking of? Something beginning with C. No, 2 things beginning with C.
Calm.
No, caretaker, corruptor. I mean, there's more than that, by the way. Pretty much every no. I think what it came down to really was there should at least a track for like a new faction, right? Was the original idea? I mean, I would say 2. What?
A new faction and a faction boss fight.
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
Exactly.
Like whenever there's just a rival swarm or rivals around, have like that, like a normal like meep 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 mop meep would be how it goes because they're robots.
And these core fucking dwellers are cheating by first of all doing both in one, but also only having one enemy to their name, and they get a track crazy. Not that it's a good, not that it's not a good thing. There's only one enemy, right? That's not a bad thing necessarily.
No, I mean you obviously know why. Which I wonder if it's going to get its own section.
I think it does have one. I think Core Spawn has its own section. I think, and the Core Stone could probably be in there too because it is a boss. Like you have to.
It does seem like
kill it. Yeah, it has a health bar. So there could be 2 things in there, potentially. What if they just throw some random thing in there that you wouldn't expect, like
a bagel?
No, something that's already in the game, but they put it in the Core Spawn category, like loot bug.
I mean, the chances are I think we know loot bugs are going to be in thingy, aren't we? That's known.
Actually, I don't think we know that. It's genuine disgust. Not disgust. Just genuine. I don't know. Appalling. But yeah, I mean, it also sounds pretty. I mean, I didn't know this that they got the original composer back. Sofas. Obviously, the original sound designer / music implementer, Trolls, who we interviewed, you can watch that, is not back. They have a new sound designer, but this is still the same guy who made the music originally, is doing this, and therefore, assumedly, Roadcore as well. So, safe to say, we are in good hands as far as this goes. I don't know if you agree with me when I say this about the new track though, and obviously I recommend people do listen to it. But it's very like techno and horror oriented as well, but it still has like weird like primal elements, you know? Like there's like chanting in it. And like and the drums are quite I guess primal. Well, yeah, kind of. It's like sci-fi horror mixed with like a more primal concept, which I guess is the core spawn. You can potentially imagine them being just about smart enough to have their own music. You know what I mean? That is the true measure of intelligence, whether or not a species makes music or not. So
birds do that.
Well, they whistle. There's bird song, but it's not for that same reason, though, is it? It's not, But I can imagine I can imagine the crawlers finding like really like hollow rocks and hitting them, to make a beat, and then they dance around.
Hoon. How do you think they dance? I think they probably there's a lot of this going on.
They stand up in their hind legs and it looks really strange. They're almost falling over, like.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
No one saw me do that.
I mean, the internet saw you do that, Harry.
Yeah, I hope no one saw me do that.
Recording a podcast.
If you did see that, let me know. Let us know if you got this far. I'm surprised we got this far.
Use the code phrase.
What's the code phrase?
Code phrase is the number 3. I find it interesting. The code phrase has never worked. We have put them in probably 3, 4, maybe 5 podcasts at this point near the end. Never has anyone ever put the code phrase in. So either no one has ever reached this point, or anyone who does is not the type of person who just comments, which is interesting, I think. So prove me wrong.
That's really interesting.
Put number 3 down in the comments below. It's quick and easy. Speaking of near the end, do you think we are now? Or is there any last nugget of season 5 juices that other people are playing while we're just talking about the concept?
Yeah, it would be I think foolish to drag this out. I think we are just on the cusp, I think. Put the damn stapler down. Obviously, though, we did get a patch yesterday to address everyone else. But no, actually, no, because patches are cool, though, because the more patches there are before we get it, the better. So that's fine. I like how you're looking as though you're trying to calculate if I'm right. It's like,
Is Harry correct?
I think the more patches that happen before we get the update is a good thing.
It might. I'm not sure how it works. It's just right now, you pull up Microsoft.
Well, Tyler,
the season 5 in front of them, and they're doing nothing. They're just start out. But if they can, they be like, hey, we'll just slip in a patch note here, and they're like. And then just slip in another patch now.
Well, here's what it comes down to. It comes down to the fact that these patches, I think, technically don't use any memory. That sounds so stupid, but for example, these aren't the kind of patches
You don't always have to do an update for a patch.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that's what these are. So it really doesn't hurt them at all, and it helps us. But really, it was just to address some of the bigger issues, technical issues. But there is one thing that was weird, and that's the jet boots thing, which was strange, because obviously, you'd imagine the jet boots can spawn in deep scan, and they can, but not anymore. Basically, so what had happened if you found jetty boots in a deep scan mission and were wearing them up to the end, you wouldn't be able to escape normally. More importantly, you wouldn't be able to equip the Mark II jet boots that the Drill offers you.
What are they called? Like
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah, they are different.
Crap.
Yeah, they are jet boots Mark II.
I think if you have Mark 1 and you pick up Mark 2, which I know you can't do anymore, but I think this would have been a better version, you then get Mark 3, which shoots you up so fast you die of inverse fall damage on the ceiling. You snap your neck on the
I mean,
top.
going to be honest, what would have been cooler is if they actually somehow made anti-gravity boots that you walk up the walls, but that's just me. But it's still, so basically what they chose to do to remedy this issue is make it so that jet boots can't spawn on deep scan. Which is
It's Ghost Ship. Really
is it?
just
Is that
yeah.
It is, right? I
When
can't
the
remember
drill
many
you scored
examples.
against Rockbox, they just ramped up. They just like in an area do an absurd amount of Rockbox in instant. That'll sort it. This won't bite us in the ass. And then it did.
Well,
And now instead of fixing it, they were like, we'll just get rid of the problem.
yeah, it actually I like that because what? No, you're right because it's not technically fixed. It's just been removed. The things that cause the issue have been,
Now there is less variety in that mission. Problem solved,
what I'm
governor.
saying, it's just a very unsophisticated fix, right? And I just think they could have thought of something better. I don't know if there are technical limitations involved, but there shouldn't be. But I don't know if you agree with this. I kind of like the idea of maybe having, because look, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that you could still do it, right? The obvious one is ride Molly up. Okay, that's the obvious one. Obviously easier on solo. The other one is just fly up, make a hole in the wall, and then recharge the jet boots. It can't impact the flow of the mission that much. If you're so it's gonna be really rude. If you're so stupid that you can't figure out how to get out of that situation, and this is especially rude given that I don't know, maybe there's something about it where it is actually impossible. I can't tell because I haven't played it. But if I just
mine the geode, and you can't get higher than the geode with a normal jet boot or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But if that isn't the case, then it should be very, very doable unless you are a brainlet. So maybe let that kind of thing happen. It can't be that bad. That's kind of interesting, in my opinion. So, but I'm not them. All right, I'm not them. Look, we armchair develop a lot, okay, and let's just say, and we will continue to do it, but just let it be known, we know that we do it, so that makes us absolved of any wrongdoing. We are self-aware, therefore we are allowed to do it as much as we want.
Yeah, I think that's how that works.
Well, I mean, it has to be how it works, otherwise we just have to stop making suggestions, basically. And we're not going to do that. So.
Anyways, you're the worst podcast people ever. Just straight up. Name one other podcast where people would just sit there in silence.
I've seen it.
The one thing you need to do on a podcast, the one thing is talk. Literally, it is the easiest thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that. No, shit, no. He's not supposed to do that. So he can come back.
I hope that messed up your recording.
It didn't mess up the recording. It actually looked really cool. It just being me because it was perfect. It didn't not work. It worked perfectly well. The framing of the whole thing.
You quite liked it.
Yeah,
it was just you.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. This is the last. Oh, sorry, it's actually not. I was about to do the last Deep Rock thing we're going to do before season 5. Not true. Monday, I think. Monday.
Yeah.
We're gonna
What
have
was
to
I gonna do?
gonna stream. What were you gonna? What do you mean? What you gonna do?
Oh right, Monday. Yeah. No. Yeah. Never mind. No. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
At least you're avoiding
Yeah.
the dead air by
Yeah.
doing that. No, on Monday we're gonna do the final season 4 stream. What are you doing?
I'm waving goodbye to season 4.
Oh yeah. I guess you won't be able to do it on camera because that's how it goes. So yeah, you can tune in for that. I think it's gonna be no, it's probably not gonna be fun actually, but that's beside the point. Tune in for that. Obviously, if you enjoyed this episode of the Barrel Vision podcast, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to stay on top of everything, and I kind of mean everything. If you want to stay on top of everything to do with Deep Rock and Roadcore, click the bell as well. And a big thank you, of course, to our members, Box Fox Scoot. But that's it.
Xbox Fox Scoot that
Scoot,
you haven't cancelled yet.
you better show up on Monday because you're the only person who has those benefits. To exercise.
Who you've still not done anything with.
Well, he did one thing, and that was when he joined. It was,
he didn't even powers.
What?
He just asked me to draw a Griffey with a fat ass, and he'll become a member. That wasn't using powers. He didn't have them yet.
No, it was. What it was though, he did have power in that situation.
The commenters always have an amount of power, right? It's just he now has like the moral power of literally like guilting us into doing basically anything.
You say the commenters have a lot of power. Yeah, we've probably received like over 100 over the past couple weeks, and I'm not going to bring up a single one during this podcast. That was actually so fucking rude. Somehow it wasn't not really, but it felt like so rude. I was just like, I basically just said fuck the commenters, and then you burped. It's great.
Yeah. How do we have 900 subscribers?
What do you mean persistence?
Yeah. Never give up, never give in, and never be cowardly. And never eat pears as well.
Why did you have to ruin it?
That's what he says.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
You can trust me. I am a Capaldian.
Oh my god, he did say that.
Yep.
He said, "I'm a Capaldian."
I
Yeah.
think for the sake of our health, we should keep this going for another half an hour. So, how's your day been, Harry?
I literally. What do you mean?
How's your day?
That is actually a really stupid response. What do you mean? I don't know. I haven't done anything apart from this. Obviously, I guess.
Really?
What?
That's so interesting. Tell me more.
No.